We've all been there. You feel that sting of jealousy coming from someone else. And it's just this universal, kind of painful feeling, right? But what if the way we've been reacting to it is based on a total misunderstanding of what's really going on? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into one simple idea that can completely disarm that feeling and turn what feels like a moment of hurt into a moment of, well, clarity. So let's dive in.
Okay, so let's just start with a quick, honest check-in. When you get that sense that someone's jealous of you, maybe it's a backhanded compliment or a dismissive comment or just that vibe, what's your gut reaction? Seriously, how does it make you feel?
If words like anger, frustration, or just plain hurt popped into your head, yeah, you're definitely not alone. That is a completely natural response. It feels like a personal attack, and our first instinct is usually to get defensive or to start resenting that person for making us feel that way.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll touch on why jealousy stings so much. Then we'll get to this simple but powerful reminder that changes the whole game. We're going to unpack the hidden compliment inside their jealousy, explore the power of reframing your mindset, and wrap up with how you can actually choose a much more powerful response.
All right, first up, why does it feel so personal? Well, when someone's jealous, their words or actions often feel like a direct shot at our success, our happiness, or the choices we've made. It feels like they are trying to make us feel small, and that's a really tough thing to just brush off.
But what if there was a totally different way to look at it? A perspective that just completely disarms the entire situation. And that brings us to the core idea we're talking about today, a simple but really profound reminder. Here it is. Never hate jealous people. They are jealous because they think that you are better than them. Just let that sit for a second. What's so incredible about this idea is how it just flips the script. All of a sudden, this isn't about you anymore. It's about them.
Okay, so let's really break that down. How on earth can their jealousy be anything other than an attack? Well, the key is to decode the logic and find the sort of hidden compliment that's buried deep inside their jealousy.
So from this point of view, jealousy isn't an act of aggression, it's an admission. It's the other person looking at your life or your skills or your situation, and on some level, believing that you have something they don't, that you are, in their eyes, better.
So the really critical part is how these two pieces of the sentence connect. The command, never hate, is held up entirely by the reason. You're being told to hold back that hatred because their jealousy is really just a mirror, reflecting their own feelings of inadequacy when they look at you.
And this brings us to probably the most important takeaway here. Their jealousy is not a statement about who you actually are. It is 100% about their perception of you, which is all filtered through their own insecurities, their own baggage. Simply put, it's their internal problem, not your external reality.
This mental switch actually has a name. It's called reframing. And it's an amazing psychological tool where you can change your emotional response just by changing how you interpret something. You're basically deciding to shift from that gut reaction to a place of calm understanding.
I mean, just look at the difference this makes. The old reaction? It's just a mix of negative feelings that completely drain your energy. But with this new perspective, the whole reaction transforms. Anger can literally be replaced with understanding, or maybe even a little pity. And that defensiveness? It gets replaced by a quiet, steady confidence.
Ultimately, what you're doing here is you're taking back your control. You are no longer the victim of someone else's negativity. By reframing their jealousy as their issue, you move from the position of emotional pain to a position of personal power.
So, the big question is, how do we make this our new default setting? How do we actually use this in the heat of the moment? Well, it all comes down to making a conscious choice over and over until it becomes a habit.
Here's a super simple 4-step process. First, just notice the feeling. Acknowledge that sting of anger or hurt. Second, consciously pull up that reason from the quote, "They think that you are better than them." Third, actively reframe what they did not as an attack, but as a misguided compliment. And finally, from that new, calmer headspace, you get to choose your response. Maybe it's compassion, maybe it's creating some distance, or maybe it's just nothing at all.
Now, I want to be super clear about one thing. This is not about becoming arrogant or thinking, I am better than them. That's not the point. The goal isn't to feed your ego. The goal is to get to a place of emotional freedom. It's about protecting your own peace of mind so it doesn't get messed with by someone else's insecurity.
So I'll leave you with this to think about.
If you can truly, fully accept that their jealousy is just a story they're telling themselves, what does that free you up to do? If their jealousy is all about them, then what will your response be about? Will it be just another reaction to what they're doing, or will it finally be about you and protecting your own well-being?